Well, if you are a fan of 6-scale collecting and Hot Toys in particular, you know that Iron Man is Hot Toys' bread and butter. Now, they've put out a lot of different Iron Man figures, some that are absolutely spectacular, and then others not so much. But today, I'm going to reveal to you my top 10 best Iron Man figures in my collection. That is coming up next. Well, what's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another top 10, this time taking a look at the best Iron Man figures in my collection. But before we get into that, as always, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Make sure to turn your notifications on so that you know when brand new content drops. Not just videos, but also the occasional reel. And as I mentioned on my last video, you notice there's a link for Instagram and TikTok. Please make sure that you're following and subscribed to both of those. I would certainly appreciate it. But now let's get into the goods. We're going to be taking a look at the top 10 Iron Man pieces in my collection. Now, I have almost every Iron Man release and War Machine release except for the Iron Man 3 House Party Protocol. I just don't feel the need to have that many different Iron Mans that are just kind of different paint skins and different colors. But with that being said, over the MCU's years, they have seen some very impressive suits and some very iconic moments. And what does Hot Toys do best? They take those Iron Man figures and they put them in your hands so that you can relive some of those iconic moments. Now, when I'm looking at these figures, I look at the way that they are created, the way that they are paint apps, if it comes with a Tony Stark head sculpt, and a few other things in between. So this list, as I said, is my top 10 best Iron Man figures to date in my collection. Now, I will say before we even get out of the gate, I do not have the brand new Iron Man Mark III. Now, I do have the Mark III, just not the 2.0. I don't have that in hand, so I can't give an accurate representation of where that falls into the collection. So with that being said, you have to consider that that is not on the list. But as we go through, make sure to let yourself know that if you see one that you like and that you say, this is the best Iron Man, let me know down in the comments. I would certainly appreciate it. So now, enough of me talking. I know I do a lot of that. Let's get to my top 10. Starting with the Mark III. As I said, I don't have the 2.0, so all I can represent is the original, but not the original that was plastic, the original die-cast. All the figures I'll end up showing you today are die-cast pieces. But let's take a look at the iconic Iron Man Mark III from Iron Man 1. Now, if you're going to be having an Iron Man figure, this might be the one that you want to have because this is the first time you see the iconic red and gold paint on the suit. It's the first movie that really got the MCU going. So when you see Tony land down in there and take out that tank, he is wearing this armor. Now, the thing I like about this is that it does come with a special ab crunch feature that allows you to get him into the superhero pose and landing. I love that, and that is not on the 2.0. What I also like about this figure is that it does come with a flip-up faceplate to show the Tony Stark head sculpt, another thing that is missing from the 2.0. Now, I'm not saying this is the best Iron Man Mark III figure because I don't have the 2.0. I can't say for sure. This is a little bit undersized compared to the rest of the die-cast Iron Man pieces, so you do need to keep that into consideration. But as far as my top 10 goes, this does crack the top 10 because of how iconic it is, because of the ab crunch, and overall, this is a solid piece. Next up is a figure that gave a lot of angst to a lot of collectors, and it's not technically an Iron Man figure, but it is at the same time. That being the Iron Man Suit Up Mark V Tony Stark in the racing suit. Now, this figure to me is absolutely incredible because it shows that iconic moment from Iron Man 2 when he buffs out the briefcase and transforms into the Mark V. Now, I do think the Tony Stark head sculpt is probably the best Tony Stark head sculpt that we have gotten. I love the detail, love the messy hair, love the mark on the cheek. I think that's all fantastic. The thing about this is that it's not technically an Iron Man figure because it's not the full suit. But you do have to say that the details that they put into this figure are absolutely sublime. They are so intricate, but with that being said, they are also extremely fragile and a little bit of a pain in the butt to get this thing together. But you have to say that when you see this in the suit up mode, it is really, really special. And if you pair him with the Mark V, it is really taking it to another level. Now, there may be no more important scene in all of the MCU is when Tony Stark snaps his fingers to Thanos, says that he is Iron Man, and that essentially ends the end game and also ends Tony's life. Now, this is the most iconic scene for some people, and it is detailed beautifully in the Battle Damage Mark 85. The thing about this, unfortunately, is that this pose is pretty much the only pose you really can put him in. Yes, he's fully articulated, but do you really want to put him in a different pose besides the snap? Now let's talk about the head sculpt itself. This, next to the Mark V suit up, I think is the second best Tony Stark head sculpt that we have gotten. I love the detail, I love the blood, I love the look of exasperation on his face, and it's just a fantastic looking figure. But you have to ask yourself, if I'm going to have an Iron Man, do I want it for this iconic moment? Or do I want it for more? Now this one, as opposed to the Battle Damaged 85 and the Clean 85, actually comes with more accessories than the Clean 85, which is an interesting comparison. But overall, I have to put this a little bit lower on the list. As great as it is and as iconic as that moment is, I do have to say that because of just the snap pose, it's not going to crack the top 5. Now you've seen the Mark V suit up, and now you're going to see the Mark V itself. I think this is an absolutely phenomenal suit and one of the best Iron Man figures that Hot Toys has ever put out. So much so that they've even re-released it and reissued it a couple times because of how special that it is. Now this is one of the few suits where you notice that it's not the red and the gold, but rather the red and pewter or red and silver. It's got a different look than any of the other Iron Man figures, and I really do like that, especially with the battle damage pieces. I think they did a fantastic job of nailing that. And as I said, because it pairs so well with the Mark V suit up, if you have the Mark V suit up, it makes the figure that much better. But you have to ask yourself, is this figure good enough to be in the top 5? Is this the only Iron Man figure you're going to get? For me, because it's not the iconic red and gold, it's a little bit lower on my list, but I cannot deny how special the Iron Man Mark V is from Iron Man 2. Next up on my list is actually the very first Iron Man figure that I've ever gotten from Hot Toys. I picked up this Iron Man Mark IV from Rick's Comic City here in Nashville. This is the first time I ever held a die-cast Hot Toys figure in my hand, and of course, I fell in love with it. This thing is big, it's beefy, and it has an incredible Tony Stark head sculpt. It comes with the glasses, and of course it comes with the donut, which is so fun to include. He does come with a lot of accessories, a lot of different ways to suit him up. But I have to ask myself once again, if I'm only going to have one Iron Man, is this the one? It's a worthy addition. It's got some sentimental value to me, obviously. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. It's scaled properly, but to me, I still feel like there are some better Iron Man figures out there. But what do you think? Now, into the top 5 we go, and we're going to bring up another figure that doesn't actually have the iconic red and gold, that being the Iron Man Mark II from the first Iron Man. Now, this is one die-cast figure that collectors are clamoring to have a reissue on, and even asking for a quarter-scale version of this suit. Now, I love the die-cast silver. It looks so incredible on a shelf. It really pops under the lights. The details that they put into this suit, to where it just bounces light off so beautifully. I love the rivets. I love the intricate details. It essentially is the Mark III suit before it gets repainted. So with that being said, is this the most iconic? Well, no, but this is the first Iron Man suit out of the cave. So to me, that does hold a special place in my heart. And not to mention, I love when they include Tony heads and you flip up the visor and you will see the Tony Stark head sculpt underneath. I think they did a great job. This figure certainly pops on a shelf because it is different from all the other ones. It is in the top 5, but it is not my favorite Iron Man figure. Next up on the list is the iconic suit from the first Avengers, that being the Iron Man Mark 7. Now, when people are deciding whether or not they want to have an Iron Man figure, most people will gravitate towards this suit because of the role that it plays in the Avengers movie. That's what kicked it all off. That's what gave us the MCU craze that people ran towards. And this suit is no different. It's big, it's hefty, it's one of the suits that really detailed Tony who he was before he started getting all the nanotech form-fitting suits. So if you're looking for an actual Iron Man, this is definitely one that you want to consider. The amount of accessories that he comes with, from the lasers to the rocket launchers to the interchangeable pieces on his legs and on his wrists, it is beautiful. It is so well done, and it just commands a shelf, as I've talked about before. And as I said, I love the face sculpts, so when you pop open that visor, yes, you do see Tony Stark on the inside with a battle damaged look, which is absolutely fantastic. So if you're talking about iconic, I don't know if there's anything more iconic than the Mark 7 from the first Avengers film. But with that being said, there are still 3 Iron Man figures that I think are better, and those are as follows. Now, as they say, go big or go home, and this next figure is certainly meeting that criteria. That being the Hulkbuster. This is actually the biggest hot toy that I have in my collection, and to my knowledge, the biggest hot toy that there actually is. Now, it's bigger than the Hydra Stomper, it's bigger than all the other pieces that are out there, and it is absolutely an engineering work of art. The intricacies that they put into this. Now, I know it's not the most posable suit, but you don't need it to be posable because of the presence that it commands. This thing is incredible, all the way down to the little mini bust that they have on the inside. When you walk into a room, this is one piece that you absolutely gravitate towards. And that's why I think, because of how well it's done, how well it's engineered, how well it's painted, it does come with some different pieces of battle damage that you can put onto it. This thing is a work of art. And if you happen to have the Iron Man Mark 43 to go with it, you have some incredible display options at your disposal. This thing, as I said, commands its shelf presence, and I think this is a definite worthy addition as one of the best Iron Man figures, if not one of the best Hot Toys figures they have ever produced. Now we're into the top 2 best Iron Man figures in my collection, and number 2, the silver medal, goes to the Iron Man Mark 6 from Iron Man 2. Now, this is such a cool suit for so many reasons. It's the first time we get a different type of arc reactor. As you can see, it is the triangle type arc reactor that I really think is a really nice aesthetic that really sets it apart from other figures. I love the battle damage that they put on this piece. I think it's absolutely so well done, so well crafted. It's sharp, the paint details are there. I think this thing is absolutely sublime. It is absolutely a commanding piece on the shelf, especially with that little suit-up gantry. Now, this isn't like the big gantry that's going to be coming with the 2.0 reissue of this, but I think this is perfect for if you're going to be putting it in a DTOF or in a smaller display. For me personally, I don't need that giant gantry setup that's going to be coming. This is the one for me. Not to mention, if you do happen to have the War Machine to go with it, this figure is an absolute chef's kiss. Well, now, here we go. Without further ado, my favorite and best Iron Man figure in my collection, and which I also feel is the best Iron Man figure to date. That is the Iron Man Mark 46 from Civil War. When I am thinking of an iconic Iron Man suit, this is it. Because this movie itself is one of my absolute favorites in the entire MCU, where Cap versus Iron Man versus the entire Avengers was split apart, and this was what set Infinity War and Endgame in motion. And this Mark 46 suit absolutely details all of that. It is such an iconic moment. The busted chest plate, the busted arc reactor, from the scene where Cap and Bucky fight Iron Man. The emotional toil is all there, and it's all detailed in this figure. And I love that they added the black eye on the figure itself. This is one of my favorite Tony Stark head sculpts, and I think they absolutely nailed it. So the sculpt is there. Everything that you would want in an Iron Man figure is in this Mark 46. And to me, that is the best Iron Man figure in my collection, and as I said, the best Iron Man figure to date. Well, that's going to do it for us here as we looked at my top 10 favorite Iron Man pieces in my collection. Which piece is your favorite? Which one do you have that you think is the definitive Iron Man? Let me know down below. And as always, I want to make sure to listen to this audience. I've heard that you've enjoyed these top 10 type videos, that you've let me know in the comments and messaged me privately. If you like these types of videos, I need to know. If you hate these videos, let me know that as well. Just make sure to let me know respectfully, because I want to give you, the people, everything that you're looking for and to provide great content to this channel. Which, by the way, if you're not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that bell, hit that notification so that you know when new content drops. As I said, TikTok, Instagram, and right here. And that is the truth, because I will be seeing you in our next video.